Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to discuss about this recommendation. Actually, I've been in the meeting since almost from the beginning, so I also heard some of the recommendations which were made and promoted by the national organizations, and I think they overlap with some of the recommendations which were made by ODIHR in the previous reports. I will try to highlight some of the issues that Mr. Mureșan mentioned earlier, and maybe point where possible also some good examples or some good practice which can serve as an inspiration together with the standards that come together. So I will start with some of them, not necessarily in a very specific order. I will probably leave one of the most important at the end. But I will start with the issue of transparency and reporting. One of the recommendations which was made by in the previous ODIHR reports was related to interim reporting, in publishing information about income and expenses before the election day. Currently, the legislation does not specify that electoral contestants have to publish such reports. And basically, the final report, which is submitted 60 days after the elections, is the only report which is published, together, of course, with the results of the monitoring of the monitors which are employed by the CEC. However, interim reporting is actually it's one of the recommendations which frequently occurs in ODIHR reports. You can see in other countries that this is one of the important issues which is related to the transparency of the process, and is not important only from the CEC's perspective, but international standards, for example, the ODIHR Venice Commission regulations, guidelines, highlight the issue of transparency, the fact that citizens and experts need to have access to data related to how the campaign finance look like. And actually, the recommendation in the report highlights this issue. I will just mention some of the countries in which this kind of practice is implemented. For example, we have Croatia, where the contestants have to publish reports 7 days before the elections. We have Moldova, where an initial report in 3 days after the contestants are declared, and weekly reports are published. Also, we have, for example, Netherlands. So there are countries which publish these kind of reports, and it is understandable that the oversight body will probably not be able to look into all the information, because it could be overwhelming. However, this is a source which allows, as I was saying, also external stakeholders to better understand how the campaign looks like, and which are the funds which come into the campaign, and what are the expenditure. Also, another practice which might be interesting is publishing the data on donations. So for some countries, we have, for example, Lithuania or Latvia, which do not necessarily publish interim reports, but they publish at least the income from donors which contribute for the election campaign. So this is one of the interesting perspectives which should be taken into consideration. Also, the law, the election code establishes that contributions over 50,000 lek should be made available, as according to the current regulation. I understand that they are published at the end of the process with the reports. However, the article, and I think it's Article 92/2, could be better reformulated in the sense that additional provisions are introduced so that publication of such data should be made available during the election campaign. This is one of the first issue. Another issue which was also mentioned earlier is the one related to third parties. Actually, this is not necessarily a new topic. The ODIHR report has one of the ODIHR reports include this recommendation of better regulating and including thresholds for similar to the political parties to the third parties. Although it is not necessarily a new topic, it is kind of an emergent trend, and together with online campaigning and social media campaigning, it could become one of the things that could hamper the transparency of the financing of political election campaigns. In the sense that online advertising, social media campaigns could be used by third parties which are not declared and could influence the results of elections, both in terms of financial income and both in terms of results. There are a few countries which regulate third parties in Europe. This is mostly, I would say, a tradition in the Anglo-Saxon space, so you probably will find there more regulations. But within the OSCE space, for example, we have an interesting example from the Czech Republic, where third parties, which are considered to be entities that contribute in the support of contestants also, or against the contestants, are registered electronically by the oversight body, and there are reports which are published. Also, a good example was Slovakia. Unfortunately, Slovakia removed third parties from the legislation, and now they are no longer available for contestants. But they had to register with the oversight body, and they had to publish reports. Also, what is interesting in both these cases, and also could relate to my previous comments, is the issue of the transparent accounts, where both in Czech Republic and Slovakia, contestants have to declare their accounts that they use for the campaign, and all these transactions are available publicly to anyone who is interested. So this is a good example on how both disclosure during the campaign and the issue of third parties could be registered together. What I would also underline at the EU level, there is this trend in November 2021, the Commission published a package, an electoral reform package, which could also serve as a good example, which better defines election what election advertising means, and how all this information which are considered to be political advertising are published. There should be a register, and political parties should publish the information in a continuous manner. So I think what we see as this trend at the EU level could also serve an example in better defining what political advertising is and how it should be defined. Also, regarding to the another recommendation refers to the audit reports, which are produced after the elections. One of the recommendations is to have a more clear deadline, in the sense that as the law establishes at this point that these reports are made available when they are finished, basically. But this could mean, theoretically, could mean months after the end of the election, which, according to the international standards, is not necessarily a good practice in the sense that there should be a proportional deadline. There should be a shorter deadline in which they are made available. So the recommendations refers to the fact that these reports should be made available in a better defined deadline. Also, another recommendation, and probably this is one of the most important one, and I also saw it mentioned. I saw multiple mentions about this topic earlier. Is the capacity of the CEC actually is the capacity to effectively enforce legal requirements by the CEC. And probably this is one of the outstanding recommendations, and this refers probably to several components, both legal requirements in the terms of attributions. So the CEC should have larger attributions in verifying, in performing oversight over the election campaign. But both of in terms of resources, human and financial resources that would allow to better monitor the campaign, also to verify the reports, reports, and to ultimately impose sanctions, which should be proportionate and dissuasive. Because in the end, if sanctions, as we see it in the election code, some of the sanctions are not dissuasive enough and do not determine the contestants to stop from or do not have the effect of stopping contestants from violating the law. So therefore, this is an essential aspect, and even though the law might be perfect, if in practice the regulations are not, that there is not a strong oversight over the regulations and there are not sanctions, the efficiency of the law is reduced significantly. I also have other two comments. I will stop soon because I think my time is approaching to an end. If we discuss about reform, I will not refer too much to the Political Parties Act because it's not necessarily in the priorities or is not necessarily monitored by ODIHR in the election reports. But my opinion is that the Political Parties Act is strongly related to what happens in elections. Therefore, some of the regulations which are in the Political Parties Act should be should be better defined. One of the things, for example, which worth taking paying attention to is the donations and membership fees, which are brought to the political parties and that can also be used in the campaign. So basically, the electoral code regulates the fact that political parties could use funds which come from the membership fees. However, there are no limits for membership fees. So when thinking of reform, I think it would be also important to better correlate some of the threshold and some of the transparency regulations that we spoke earlier, also with the Political Parties Act, because as I was saying, there is this direct connection. Another thing which might be of priority when thinking of reform would be the issue of loans. Although the legislation establishes that loans are can be received under the regulations of the fiscal law, however, in terms of loans for the electoral process, we believe that there should be a better definition on reporting and also on deadlines for returning. Basically, the condition that these loans should be, that the political parties should have in relation to loans and the obligations that they should have in relation to loans. Another thing is related, and I will soon stop. Another thing is related to the clarity and the strength of the legislation. Although it is a positive aspect, the fact that the CEC has published guidelines, and they are quite extensive. I was looking at the one for the 2021 elections. They are very well detailed and explained. It could help, or it could be a good direction to further define some of the regulations in the law. So some of the specifications which are in the guidelines should also be in the law, because in the end, the primary legislation is the main act that should define the essential aspects which pertain to political and campaign financing. And one last thing that I would like to comment upon is the issue of reporting and the manner in which the reports are published. It is again one of the directions in which this new package of reform at the EU level is going to, or it's highlighting the issue of use more citizen-friendly formats, which are easy to take a look on, to analyze, and which can be published in more friendly formats. So this, of course, comes together with the reporting procedure. I think the CEC has a range of very useful templates. It would be efficient from the perspective of reporting and monitoring from external stakeholders to also have this information published in more accessible formats that can be used in machine, for example, in machine readable formats. I think there are also others, some other aspects that could be commented upon. However, I will stop here. Maybe if there are any comments or questions about these recommendations, I think I will be here and I'm open to comment upon any of them. So thank you very much.